Our tour around the Sun Belt continues. Bryant, Vincent, head coach of the ULM Warhawks on Locked On Sun Belt.
You are Locked On Sun Belt, your daily podcast on the Sun Belt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sun Belt, your team every day. Today's episode brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and it's a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go right now for free in the App Store or Google Play. All right, we continue with the spring practice tour of the Sun Belt. It is up to ULM's Bryant Vincent hopping on today. Really appreciate his time. Wait till you find out how many new players he's going to have in his program come the fall. We go over spring practice. We go over the quarterback competition, what players did stick out during spring ball, and trying to get leadership in the team when you have a bunch of new people around it and in it. And what are the expectations for 2024? Let's get to it. He is the new head coach of the ULM Warhawks. He is Bryant Vincent on Locked On Sun Belt. Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Sun Belt, your team every day. Dave Schultz, your host. We're going around the Sun Belt to talk with our football coaches and, post-spring practice. Thrilled to welcome back ULM head coach Bryant Vincent. Coach, thank you so much for hopping on. I'm sure we're going to get more, but do we have a final tally of how many transfers you have brought into the program?
As of right now, currently right at 34. Currently 34, but we're going to add 28 more. So it's going to probably be around 60 to 62 guys that, we've brought in to what we feel like to upgrade this roster.
That's like 3/4 of the roster.
That is right. That is correct.
Right. Oh, my goodness. All right. So I'll ask you the same question that I did, with Tim Beck, Coastal Carolina. He says he's going to have 50 new players too. So how do you go about? Do you have some training techniques to learn people's names, or are you just calling people out by numbers?
I think the biggest thing that when you first get here, say for instance in January, where the kids come back and you've got everybody in the same room, I think just the daily, one day at a time, just getting to know the guys, getting to know their names, getting to know their background, getting to know where they're from, and really their story is just as important as, the weight room, our speed and change of direction program, the offense, the defense, the special teams, because you've got to understand the players, you've got to understand the team, and that takes time. It takes time, but it's a daily regimen of just building that relationship and building the chemistry and building the team.
Talking to Bryant Vincent, the head coach of the ULM Warhawks. All right, so you haven't coached a game there yet. Yeah, again, like Tim Beck, long time assistant coach in college, and now getting your first shot as a head coach. All right, so what has been your biggest challenge just over? I guess it's been just over 4 months.
I think probably the biggest challenge is getting everybody on the same page, on the same mission. Believing in the same standards, believing in the philosophy of really who we are, and who we are every day is who we will become. That's something we talk about. So from just the discipline of what we believe in the program, whether it's how we hold our locker, whether it's getting our study hall hours in, going to class, being on time, to the weight room, to our techniques, to what we do in the weight room, to our speed and conditioning program. So really every aspect of this program, but doing it a certain way, and every man doing a certain way. So you're looking at 110 guys that have to do it the same way and not giving in, improving our toughness, improving our mentality, owning what we're here to do at ULM. So all those things, and you're just molding it daily, and you're growing it daily, and you're improving it daily. That's probably been the biggest challenge, but it's also been very rewarding because I see our guys conforming and I see them growing as one. And that's the whole key, to what we're trying to develop here.
See, sometimes I talk about this all the time. that we hear what we want to hear. So you answered that question very clearly to get everybody on the same page. Now, you ended up talking about the players, but when I hear that, especially at a place like Monroe, that encapsulates everybody to be on the same page, because that has been, we'll get to that, the challenges of building a program in Monroe. So that goes, to me, that goes beyond just the players. That may be a challenging part of it, although you may see the results faster. But you got to get everybody, as people that I know would say, you got to pull the rope in one direction. I think in places like Monroe, I think there's been a bunch of ropes and a bunch of people pulling it in different directions. So how do you get the people outside of the program per se, not directly involved, and even some of the people directly involved with the program? You get the training staff involved, and the dietitians involved, and you got to get the administration involved, and then the fans involved, and NIL involved. How do you build that out to get everybody on the same page? Because I would think, to me, someone in your situation, that is going to be a process that may be a little bit slower, but as you mentioned, may be gratifying when it does come around.
I think, if you just talk about within the organization or within the building, obviously staff meetings each morning, because we have a new staff. We have a new strength staff. We have a new coaching staff. We have a new video staff. So I think it's clear communication. It's one voice, with then everybody else repeating the voice. And it's a constant message of who we are and what we believe in. It needs to be in the position rooms. It needs to be heard in the strength room. It needs to be heard in the hallways, in the training room. And the entire staff has to spread the message on what we are, who we are, what we stand for every day. So that's how you have to handle it. And it's a constant message to the team. It's not a situation where the head coach is in his office. It's not where I'm behind the desk. That's not it, in my opinion. I've got to be in the weight room. I've got to be in the hallways. I've got to be in the meeting rooms. I've got to have team meetings, staff meetings. So then you go outside the organization in the town, because it's about the people. It's about this city. It's about our former players. It's about our alumni. It's about bringing everybody together as one, and every situation is different. And when you look at this situation, there's been tough times. There's been tough times for a period of time, and that's fine, but we've got to put those, and we've got to learn from those times, but we've also got to honor those times. There's also been some good times here, from the 87 national championship to there's been the Todd Bears. There's been some good years here too. But at the end of the day, we've all got to come together as one Warhawk, as one family, and we've got to come together and really put those things behind us. And how do we move forward? How do we build this thing? And so I've met with a lot of people throughout this, this town that have been associated with the program, that maybe haven't been associated with the program in a couple of years. And I think it's just built on relationships. I meet with 4 to 6 people a day throughout the day that we're trying to get reconnected with, that we're showing them our vision and what we're doing now moving forward. And I think in 4.5, 5 months that we've brought a lot of guys back. We've got a lot of guys back involved, and it's one day at a time. I'm trying to win one guy, one man, one woman, one former player, one person in town back, and build an army one at a time. And we're starting to see that. We're starting to see guys come back. We're starting to see the town get involved. And we've just got to continue this journey. It's not going to be, it's a journey. But I tell people all the time, we're in a marathon, but we're not jogging to get there to the finish line. We're running. We're sprinting to the end, because I don't want to say, oh, yeah, we'll get to it year 2, year 3. No. We're going to do it right now. And we want everybody now. And doing it one day at a time, Dave.
Well, again, more math. My understanding is that there would be no math. But if you're meeting with that kind of people every day, right, and it doesn't seem like that many, but all of a sudden you do it over a month and over 5 months and over a year, all of a sudden that's over 1,000 people. And you're not only touching those people, you're counting on them touching others. is the idea. So that can grow exponentially very quickly. Let's take a timeout. We'll come back and continue our conversation with the ULM Warhawks head coach Bryant Vincent. He'll talk about spring practice, the quarterback competition, and who else seemed to stick out during spring ball. Let me first tell you about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. And Lafayette Travel. Escape to Lafayette, Louisiana, the happiest city in America, where every visit is uniquely seasoned with unforgettable experiences. Savor world-class cuisine, including mouth-watering boudin, savory gumbo, and piping hot crawfish, seasoned to perfection. Experience lively festivals that celebrate Lafayette's one-of-a-kind heritage. Explore magnificent trails that lead you through our rich cultural history and breathtaking natural beauty. Discover the untouched purity of our cypress and tupelo swamps, where you can pedal past nesting birds and sunbathing alligators. Immerse yourself in the vibrant rhythms of Cajun and Zydeco music that can be heard any night of the week. Whether your passion is for our rich cultural history, the bustling culinary scene, or the distinctive blend of Cajun and Zydeco music, the happiest city in America has something for everyone. Start planning your adventure at LafayetteTravel.com/seasoned. And by the way, saw Sue Foley last night at Festival International. Outstanding. And it's all weekend long and for free. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Let's get back to our conversation with ULM head coach Bryant Vincent. He talks about spring ball, how it went, the quarterback competition, and what other players at other positions seem to make a name for themselves early on in Coach Vincent's tenure. We're talking with head coach Bryant Vincent of the ULM Warhawks. Let's discuss, how did spring practice go?
I thought spring was successful. When spring was over, I said, okay, I felt like we got a lot done. So what are we talking about? It goes down to just the standards of practice. And I think that the closest thing you get to playing a game is practice. We've got the weight room. We've got the meetings. We've got our speed program, our change of direction program. But it's practice and how important it is, and how we take the field, how we start the game to where it is throughout practice, to facing adversity in practice, to how we never change. So it's the methods and it's the philosophy and it's the effort and intensity and putting our kids in game-like situations because, again, it's the closest thing you get to the game. And I felt like we made tremendous growth. We started learning how to practice, going to the next snap. Everything you got, situational football. I thought we became a savvier football team, whether it's high red, low red, backed up, 2-minute, third downs, P and 10, second longs. So I felt like we took tremendous growth. We've still got a long way to go, but I feel like we've set a foundation and a solid foundation to carry into phase 3 in our June and July program.
So, all right. So I didn't play football, more of a baseball guy, but obviously covered football for the decade being here in the South. So take me through what day one is. Cause I figure, I don't know if there's obviously there's a certain expectation and, goals for day one, but it kind of feels like to me with all the new transfers and the new coaching staff and the new everything, we're just looking for basic stuff day one and we get better every single day. So we have goals at the end of the 15 practices. So what is how did you guys improve from day one, where we are learning to snap the football, so to speak, to, that 15th practice in the spring game to where, we are moving on to the next play if something A, if something goes wrong, or B, something goes right? You always have a next play.
I think it's as simple as how we set the huddle, to how we take the field, to how we come off the field, to the next play mentality. For us to win here, which we're going to do, there's a certain kind of mentality that we got to play with, and it's a relentless mentality. It's a physical mentality. It doesn't matter what the score is. It doesn't matter if it's cold. It doesn't matter if it's raining. From play 1 to play 70, whatever it is, that we are relentless mentally and physically. We can be down. We can be tied. We can be up. Halftime score doesn't matter. It's playing with a certain kind of edge where we're on that edge, but we don't cross that line. And getting an entire team in all 3 phases to play with that edge. I think we got a chance to be pretty good up front, on our defensive line. Well, I think we got a chance to be pretty good up front on our offensive line. Those two groups are the front line. They're the front line. They got to be tough. They got to be nasty. They got to be physical, but we also got to protect each other and understand that they both have a job to do. And there's both a method on how those units have to play. So those type of things, I felt like we really grew and we took strides, and you lay it on the line from the beginning to the end. And at the end of practice, it should be tough getting off the field. We should be spent from the beginning to the end. And I felt like we're not there, but we started to see it. We started to get it. The last 2 weeks of spring, I felt like they're starting to understand, and they're also getting to know each other. Like you said, you've got to have that bond where the man next to you, you're playing for him and he's playing for you, and there's trust built and there's respect built. And that just takes time. It takes time, but it takes it doing it day in and day out.
We're talking with Bryant, Vincent, head coach of ULM. Even a football neophyte like me knows, you got to stop the run. You got to get after the quarterback. You got to be able to run the ball, and you got to be able to protect the quarterback. And then, that's football 101, and that's where you start. So that's pretty good. All right, so having said all that, how did the quarterback competition go?
You know what? We repped a lot of quarterbacks this spring. We had guys coming back from last year's teams, from a Hunter Herring to a Blake Murphy, to a Landon Graves, to Velez, to adding Aiden Armand, adding other guys that we brought in a Cash Turner. So as it went through, I thought the last 2 weeks, I started seeing some good growth and some good development from that room. I still think we're a ways away. I think that we need a great summer to solidify some things, but it's a position that I think still needs some growth and development, and possibly adding a guy to that room to add that growth and experience and development is a thing that we're looking at right now. But I like where we're going. We're not there yet. We've got some very capable guys that can take those steps. I haven't seen a starter yet there through spring, but that doesn't mean that we can't be there one by the end of fall.
So when do you, as a head coach now, like to have that decision? Whether I find out or the media finds out, I'm sure the team actually knows, maybe even before you actually make a decision, because they're doing it every day. When do you like? Now, this is the first go around as a head coach. When would you like to make that decision? You're going to wait till the week before, or as quickly as possible in camp, so we can get that number one team, meshing together, and they can rally around the general, so to speak.
I think the biggest thing is after that last scrimmage in fall camp, I want that position to be earned. I want the team to see that guy earning the job, because I think it's just as important as us naming the starter. It's just as important on them earning the respect of their teammates and their offense and their defense and really the whole team, because that guy's the leader, and he's got to earn it. And I think it's proven on the field. It's seen with the guys within the program. So it's usually after that last scrimmage and that guy's really stepped out and taken it and shown it and earned it in front of everybody.
All right, so that's a couple of weeks in. Usually it's, fall camp. Then you get 2 weeks to get ready for that opponent. We're talking to Bryant Vincent, ULM head coach. Give us some names of some players that I don't know if I want to say surprised, but stood out in spring ball.
If you look at the defensive side of the ball, I thought that Aiden Hutchinson, I thought he really stood out. I thought Earl Barquette on the D line. I thought Jalen Ware, Billy Pullen, those guys, Dylan Howell. I thought those guys, for Vontae Wells, they all stood out. A guy named Tyrese Hopkins at the inside linebacker position, I thought had a great spring. He's a 6'3", 225-pound kid. His football IQ is off the charts. Wyatt Williams at the safety position, Carl Fontroy, who came in, from UAB, Carlin Viggers, Jacob Gotze at the corner position, to Deuce. Had a lot of guys really stand out. To Traver Randall stand out. Offensive line-wise, Carter Miller really stood out to me at the center position from James Madison. Elijah Fisher, Jay Mickle, that were here on last year's team, really stood out to me at the guard positions. To Big Sam. I thought Taven Curry, a running back from UAB, stood out. OZ from Coffeyville, running back. Aiden Armenta, I thought, as spring went, he really started jumping there the last 2 weeks at the quarterback position. To Amir Magruder at the receiver position. Those guys really stood out. To Tyler Griffin, to Mark Britt. So, because all these guys are new, but I thought a lot of those guys really took big steps, and I really like where we're at right now. We know we got a long way to go. We do, and we've got to bring some guys in here to fit some pieces that we're missing. But Tristan Shorter, really stood out. So, I think we got a chance to be a lot better. And how much better, we'll see. But I think these guys, we're on the right track to have a tough ass team. Sorry, I apologize.
That's okay. That's outstanding. One last time out, we'll come back and wrap up our conversation with Warhawks head coach Bryant Vincent, talking about leadership on a team that has a bunch of new players and expectations for the 2024 season. We'll do that right after I tell you about Monopoly Go. Okay, I have a competitive side. We all do. And my competitive side is a big fan of Monopoly Go. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great twist on Monopoly where you play not on one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations, building up amazing cities that bring you big money. The best part is messing with my friends. I can charge them rent on my iconic properties, just like classic Monopoly, but now I can also heist their vaults of riches for myself. And the leaderboards show me who the biggest Monopoly tycoon is. But it's not just my competitive side that loves it. You can team up with friends and people all around the world in timed tournaments to earn huge rewards. So get into the game and join your friends. Download Monopoly Go now for free in the App Store or Google Play. All right, let's wrap up our conversation with ULM Warhawks head coach Bryant Vincent, talking about leadership and the expectations for the upcoming 2024 season. We're talking with head coach Bryant Vincent of ULM. All right, so for a group that is getting to know each other, how important is it for the leaders to step up? Because it's one thing, hearing your barking day in and day out. It's another thing when the players are telling other people, on the team to step up. So how do you find the leaders? Do they, stick out like sore thumbs? How do you find leaders to step up and kind of be, the coach on the inside instead of just hearing you and your coaches telling them what to do?
Yeah, I think so many times, you hear guys say, well, we need more leadership. We need more leadership. Why, and when you, really influx a roster and you bring in a lot of new guys, at the end of the day, these guys got to get to know each other. We're expecting them to play together as a team and to play at a high level. And there has to be, you have to form that bond. You have to develop that team. But then you got to sit back and you got to ask yourself as a head coach, what are we doing to promote leadership? What are we doing to grow the leadership? And I think that comes from having team discussions, having one-on-one discussions, understanding what type of leadership this team needs. This is a new team. It's a lot of new guys brought in in a short amount of time. And those guys got to get comfortable with each other. They got to understand each other. It's hard to lead people when you don't understand who they are and you don't understand what makes them tick and you don't understand their story and their background. So I think it is a progression. I think that if we ever want to get each team in each season, if we ever want to get to where, we reach the goals of being a bowl team, we reach the goals of playing for a championship one day, it has to be player-led. And in order to be player-led, those players have to understand who they're leading and what they're leading and how they're leading. I'm about positivity. I don't like negativity. I'm about toughness. I'm about discipline. And those guys have to lead to what the mission statement is and what we're about and what we believe in. And I think we're starting to see that. We're starting to see it grow. We're starting to see it come out. And it's going to be a constant. And a big key for us, it has to be built really by the end of fall camp, because once you step into the end season, then there ain't no looking back. You have to have a foundation. It has to be built by then.
All right, let's wrap things up with head coach Bryant Vincent of the ULM Warhawks. All right, some guy named John Summerall ruined it for everybody, winning 2 conference championships in his first 2 years as a head coach. And with the portal and NIL, regardless of what anybody thinks, there is no 2-3 year, we need to build a program, because every year, I mean, you mentioned you had over 60 coming in this year. You're probably going to have at least half of that coming in next year, because that's the day and age we live in. So having said all that, what are your expectations for this team in 2024? What do you want to see? I think the West is a little bit, to be honest with you, up for grabs. I think Texas State, because of the quarterback situation, they get the Sun Belt Player of the Year transferring to them. But everybody else seems to be in a little flux, whether it's quarterbacks or new coaches moving forward. So what are your expectations for the ULM Warhawks in 2024?
Initial expectations are for us to take the field with a team that's going to play for each other, that's going to play, with a certain kind of mentality and toughness and a relentless mindset. We're not going to be bashful. We own who we are, where we've been, and now it's up to us to change it, and it's up to us to take it forward. We break it down every single day on Champs. We're not sitting here saying, hey, we want to be competitive next year. Hey, let's just see if we can win a couple games and make a little improvement. That's not what we're about. And we're about competing for championships. We're about being a consistent bowl football program, going to bowl games year in, year out. We want to win the West. We want to play for a conference championship, and we're not going to back down from that. And I know that some people might look at that and go, well, the history, we don't care about that. We want to honor our history, but we want to make history at the same time. And we want to do things that have never been done. And it's important that we chase that mission every day. And then we have an opportunity to go out there and make it happen this fall.
We're talking to Bryant Vincent, the head coach of the ULM Warhawks, on a Locked On Sun Belt, going around spring ball, talking to the coaches. Really appreciate your time, Coach. Thank you so much. If you have problems with John Hartwell, you tell me, and I will make phone calls. I know people in Monroe.
Hey, no problems with John. John does a great job, man. He does a great job. And, Dave, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. And go Warhawks.
We'll see you in New Orleans at Sunbelt Media Days. Thanks, Coach.
All right, buddy. Have a good day.